All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for hopping onto this webinar. I promised we were going to get started promptly at 7:30. If you don't know, there is a very important basketball game tipping off at 8:50 tonight here for the folks in Ann Arbor. Our University of Michigan men's basketball team playing the national championship. So I want to get us started. Also want to get us finished at a prompt time. So I'm going to have a hard stop for us at 8:30 because we've got a lot of fun things ahead tonight here at the University of Michigan. My name is Dan. I'm going to be your host tonight here talking about first year student housing at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. I work for Michigan Housing, the team on campus responsible for providing housing to thousands of students every year. Like I said, I'm going to go through some slides, give you all a chance to learn a little bit more information if you're not familiar with on-campus housing for first-year students at the University of Michigan, and go from there. A couple notes on housekeeping. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, question and answer, within the overall Zoom webinar here. I am a one-man show, so I will do my best to see them as we go along, but particularly at the end, I'll leave time if there's questions, answer as much as I can verbally, might go back to a couple of slides if there's any further points I should clarify about. You're welcome to answer them. I probably won't get a chance to go ahead and answer all of your questions tonight, but I'll do what I can to answer as many as I can. We've already had a great one come in first and foremost. This Zoom webinar is being recorded tonight, and it will actually be posted to the Michigan Housing website, the first year housing information page, within the next couple of days. So tonight, we are here to talk about a number of subjects. First and foremost, our housing options for on-campus first-year students. Living learning communities, our many living learning programs geared towards first-year students, what it means to live in a community here in the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, additional living options to help meet specialized needs for our incoming students, applying for housing. So again, the process, the key things that one a student should know if they're going to go apply for housing, and then our University of Michigan vaccination requirement. And then I actually have one special preview at the end because you all decided to join the webinar tonight. I'm going to preview some information looking ahead to August, but we'll get there when we get there. So, wanted to start first and talk a little bit about housing at Michigan. So for students starting their University of Michigan journey in fall of 2026, a couple of things I really wanted to highlight here. The University of Michigan does not require any undergraduate students to live on campus. So it is optional. That being said, historically, 97 to 98% of first-year students choose to live on campus, and usually thousands also choose to live on campus going into their sophomore, junior, and senior years, but we are a very heavy first-year student population. I presume that's why you're here today, interested in learning about housing for first-year students. That's what we're here to talk about. There is no commitment on a student's part to live on campus until a housing contract has been signed. You could learn more information today, apply for housing, get all the way through the process, eventually get a housing contract for a particular space, and then say, no thanks, I'm all good. There's no commitment on your part until a housing contract has been signed. One thing I do want to note, and sometimes we hear some misinformation out there among students and families and supporters, is to note that Michigan Housing does not charge any sort of housing deposit or application fee. The only costs associated with your on-campus housing are applied to your student account, and that comes in August. So again, comes a ways away. So again, there's no sort of housing deposit or application fee. One thing I do want to highlight, though, is all undergraduate students who are living on campus are required to have a meal plan. So all of those available residential meal plans provide some form of an unlimited meal in our residential dining halls, and then the differences between them are all dependent on how many dining dollars you may want, and you get to choose between 3 different options. For our first year students, there are 3 campuses that we have first year students that live on. I'm going to set aside here and talk a little bit for a couple of seconds about our Marygrove campus. If you are here today from our LEAPS program, know that our talk today a lot is maybe geared towards our Ann Arbor campuses. If you're part of the LEAPS program living at Marygrove on our Detroit campus, just be aware that some of the things here are applicable, but some of the things may be a little bit more geared towards students that will live in Ann Arbor itself. So we have 2 campuses, North Campus, where we have 2 residential communities for first-year students, and our Central Campus, where we have 17 residential communities for our first-year students. One thing I do want to highlight about our Central Campus here in particular, and this is a brand new thing opening up this upcoming August, is we have 5 residence halls opening. If you're not familiar or haven't heard of Wolverine Village, that is a new complex here at the University of Michigan that is opening. 5 residence halls where over 2,300 students will live starting this upcoming August. It will be a very heavy first year student population living there. We're really excited for hopefully maybe some of you to be the first ever residents to live in this new community. But be aware as you look for information out there, there's some things, but it's also under construction. So I can show you a picture of our rendering here. I wish I could show you what it actually looks like right now, but it's still under construction. We're still putting the finishing touches on it over these next couple of months. But we're really excited for, again, to open 5 new residence halls, some of the newest ones here on campus in many, many years. Here at the University of Michigan, as we think about the prospect of, well, you think about where might I live or what kind of rooms exist? What kind of rooms might I live in? Will I have a roommate? Will I be able to live in a single? What's the bathroom setups like? Wanted to highlight a little bit of some of the things you're going to notice and you're going to see here at the University of Michigan, particularly with bedrooms and with bathrooms. So I will share, let's talk bedrooms first. The majority of students, overwhelming majority, will live in doubles. That is the most prevalent type of room here, where a student lives in that room and has one roommate. And again, so that's about 82% of our first year students, within a smaller population that will live in singles. So live where they'd have a room to themselves. So again, about 12%. And then again, smaller populations that might live in triples or might live in quads. If you're a first year student, you're thinking about the prospect of forming a roommate group with 2 other people to try to get into a triple, or for 3 other people to get into a quad room. Just know they're not the most prevalent of room types. So again, thinking about that and consider that. Again, the overwhelming majority of students live in doubles as in their first year. Our bathrooms are a mix of variety between private in-room bathrooms. Again, very small number, about 4% of our first year students will live in these types of rooms, uh, or shared bathrooms where there might be a bathroom between rooms or between bedrooms inside of a suite. Again, about 8%. So about 12% of their students have some sort of bathroom inside of their room. Also means you have to clean that bathroom yourself if you end up living in one of those rooms. Important thing to note. The overwhelming majority of our first year students live in community bathrooms that are shared from among between 20 to 40 residents each. So, as I said, about 88% of our first year students will use some sort of community bathroom. In terms of our other types or other aspects of our residence halls, we have a really wide variety of buildings here. From strictly on size, from some of our residence halls that have up to 70 to 80 students in them, all the way up to 12 to 1,300 students living in them. So again, from smaller to really, really big here at the University of Michigan. I will say air conditioning. We do have some buildings that do not have air conditioning. We have some buildings in which there might be air conditioners in some rooms, like particularly window air conditioners, and we have some that have central air conditioning in them. I will note, if you're not necessarily most familiar with the Southeast Michigan climate, again, air conditioning can be really beneficial for a couple of months during the academic year, but let's face it, we are in the northern part of the country. It can be a little bit colder, especially in the middle of the year, where again, air conditioning isn't as important. But again, just note we have a variety, some buildings with air conditioning, some that don't. Similar here, elevators. We have a couple of our smaller residential communities that might just have stairs only. Usually, again, only a couple stories tall. The majority of our residence halls here on campus have one or more elevators in the buildings, but just know we also have a variety of there. And then we have a couple other, again, interesting varieties of different types of buildings or different types of communities. We have some all-female residence halls. So I encourage you to do your research out there. We have some information on our website about what those are. We have some buildings in which the residence halls themselves have dining halls in them. One thing I will note is that for the meal plans that all residential students are required to have, it gets you access to all of the residential dining halls, not just the ones that maybe, if you live in a building, you don't just have access to that one, you get access to all of them. Obviously, there's just a little bit might be more of a convenience factor if you happen to live in a building that has a dining hall in it. One thing I do want to note is that the University of Michigan does not provide fridges or microwaves in rooms. So you are responsible for providing that yourself. We do partner with a company called College Products that does do rentals at a pretty good price here for, again, a kind of a combo microwave and fridge combination, a micro fridge of sorts. In which that could be dropped off in your room before you move in. Otherwise, you're also welcome to bring your own and bring it with you at move-in. But just note, the University of Michigan, again, we do not provide fridges and microwaves inside of rooms. So I talked a little bit about some of the housing options. Let's talk about our living learning programs, which have specific communities that they are living in. So we have 2 types of living learning programs here at the University of Michigan. We have our Michigan Learning Communities, and we have our Michigan Housing Theme Communities. And you might ask yourself, well, what's the difference between those two? So our Michigan Learning Communities are basically these programs are centered around a specific topic. Students apply to or are admitted to these programs. These programs live in specific predetermined buildings and communities. So our Michigan Learning Communities are a little bit more academic based, usually in the realm of 80 to 100 students per program. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller. It just depends on the program, but 80 to 100 is about the average. Students are probably going to take some form of a class or classes with other participants in addition to other weekly events and other things. Again, it's a really good opportunity to, again, form strong bonds. You're going to spend time with other peers inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom if you're a part of one of these communities. And these types of programs are supported by academic departments, particularly the college LS&A here at the university, along with Michigan housing staff. Our Michigan housing themed communities are a little bit smaller, usually in the realm of 30 to 40 students per program, and are a little bit more based on either interest or experience. Students might engage in, several times a month in specific events related to the program, and are really supported by the others, again, supported by Michigan housing and student life staff. Someone asked a really great question in the chat about if some of these learning communities are really only geared for students in LS&A, and I'm actually going to talk about that. So our Michigan Learning Communities, there are 9 of them. I will note if you are a student who has been admitted to the honors program, there is a honors housing living learning program. Honors students are not required to live in honors housing. They are welcome to apply to one of these other many wonderful programs or just not participate in any of them. Live whatever, but honors students do have the ability to live in honors housing in one of our residence halls. Similarly, our residential college students are admitted to the residential college when they're admitted to the university. So just something to be aware of. If you are living or part of the residential college, you're required to live in that community. But for our others, I wanted to highlight here that many of our programs, most of them actually, for our Michigan Learning Communities are actually not just for LS&A students. Students from any college are welcome to be a part of them. They just happen to be housed in LS&A, so that's why you see that logo up top. So our Health Science Scholars Program, our Lloyd Scholars for Writing and the Arts, our Michigan Community Scholars Program, our Michigan Research and Discovery Scholars, our Michigan Sustainability Community, and our Women in Science and Engineering Residence Program. So none of those are limited to just LS&A students. Any student is encouraged to apply if interested in that. And then there's our Bridge Scholars Program, which is open and available for students that are a part of the Summer Bridge Scholars Program. So if you are a part of that, just know that particular community is what you would be eligible for. Then we have 5 really great housing themed communities. Our first gen community geared for our first year students, a Daily Achiever program, social innovation, our Live Well sub-pre program, and then our Living Business program. So 5 really awesome communities that you can be a part of and apply to going into your first year at the University of Michigan. One thing I do want to highlight is, you say you might be interested. You learn a little bit more online. You wonder, well, how do I apply? You actually apply to these programs when you apply for housing. It's inside of the housing application. You don't have to apply to any of these, but if you are interested in them, you apply to them when you apply for on-campus housing. You can apply for up to 2 Michigan Learning Communities and up to 2 theme communities. So you can apply for up to 4 total programs across all of these if you would really like to. One thing I will note is that if you apply to a Michigan Learning Community, that's going to take priority and precedent over your application to a theme community. So if you get into that, just know that in essence, that would be in essence what you would be admitted to. I will say what the application for these communities involves is you're going to rank your programs. You're going to say, well, from these 2 Michigan Learning Communities, here's what I rank number 1, and here's what I rank number 2, based on my own interest. Same thing for the theme communities. I can rank a number 1 or number 2, or I could just rank 1 or apply to one of them and not the other. And then usually writing an essay for each of the programs. Something along the lines of 150 to 300 word answers are involved for essay questions for each of the programs. I will note, the essay questions are available online. So if you'd like to prepare ahead of time, even before you apply for housing, you can do so. They're available on some documents online to see those. But otherwise, they are available inside of the housing application. One thing I will note, and we'll talk about here throughout when we talk about applying for housing, is that you have, in essence, students have until May 11th to apply for on-campus housing. So you've got plenty of time to do that. Take your time, write the best possible, craft the best possible essay answers that you can, is what I really encourage you to do. One thing I do want to highlight here is you think about the prospect of potentially applying to one of these living learning programs is thinking about roommates. Some of you may know someone you want to live with, may be looking to find someone, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how you find roommates in some of this as we go further into this presentation tonight. But I want to talk specifically about living learning programs and roommates. So from today to May 11th, all first-year students are welcome to form roommate groups with other students that are also applying to living learning programs. However, if one person gets into a program and the other person doesn't, Michigan Housing will disband your roommate group. Students can only live with other students that are part of the same program as them. So I will say if students are admitted to a Michigan learning community, you'll have a dedicated period in late May to search for and find roommates that have also been admitted to the same program. Again, if you find someone now, you can go ahead and do so. Just know that you'd have to both get into the same program, or your whole group would have to get into the same program in order to live together. I will say students that are admitted to living learning programs who don't identify a specific person in the program to live with will be assigned a roommate by Michigan Housing that's using answers to roommate matching questions. So again, I'll talk a little bit about that there too. I am actually going to kind of pause. There were some really great questions that came along the way. I want to make sure I don't miss them. So someone asked if honors housing is just in one residence hall. And that is, yes, honors housing is contained in one of our buildings. I will say students in SMTD are absolutely eligible to apply for a Michigan Learning Community or a theme community. Any student can apply to those programs. It does not matter what college you are in. And students who are in these communities do live in the residence halls. That is a requirement of these programs is to live on campus. And a really good question around, is the housing application or MLC application first come, first serve? It is not. I know many of these Michigan learning communities will go out there and kind of take in all of the applications first. So nothing is first come, first serve. We encourage you to take your time, craft the best possible application together there. Someone asked your question. So someone said, an honor student and a regular LS&A student can't live in the same room. Yes. So students, if they live in honors housing, the housing specific community for honors students that is optional, then yes, you have to live with another student who also opts into that. But an honor student can live with another student out there if they would really like to. Again, you just wouldn't be a part of honors housing, the housing specific program for honor students. So talked about living learning programs. Let's talk about what it means to live in a community. So a couple of things I really wanted to highlight here. As you think about the prospect of living on campus in your first year of college, there's a few important things to think about. Both one that might be seen as quintessential college experiences and some that are specific to the University of Michigan. First and foremost, living with a roommate. I shared earlier, 88% of first year, or something 80 something percent of first year students live in a double room, even more so that will live in with some form of roommate. So most first year students share a room or a bedroom with a peer. And I want to recognize for many students, this is the first time that some of you may be sharing the same sleeping space. I know when I went to college, first time I ever had to consider what time I went to sleep relative to our roommates. That was an adjustment. And again, it's something I felt like I had to go through in college. No roommates are ever going to be perfect matches. While we ask a set of roommate matching questions, it's one thing to note is I've never seen anyone be perfectly matched 100% on every question. There's always going to be a little bit of difference, and working through that is a really important part of living with someone. Doesn't mean you shouldn't think about these things ahead of time, though. So thinking about what are the most important things to you? The things that would be really hard to compromise on. So for me, I could not sleep in a really warm room. Like I need my temperature to be like 65 degrees at night. This is the only way I can get a good night's sleep. It would be really hard for me to compromise with someone who absolutely has to have it as the room really, really warm. And then I think about the things that are preferences, the things you might be able to compromise on. Be able to work a little bit on cleanliness or what time you go to sleep, because I'm a pretty deep sleeper. I could probably make that work if someone wants to go to bed a little bit later. So these are the things to start to think about when you think about coming to live on campus here at the University of Michigan. The other thing is not just in your room, but outside of your room, sharing space with your peers. Living in a residence hall means you are sharing common spaces like bathrooms and lounges, laundry rooms, and other spaces with your peers. People are going to come from different backgrounds and routines, from different parts of the country and different parts of the world, all wanting to, again, to succeed academically here at Michigan. So it's really important that everyone works to really be respectful and flexible. That's what helps build a strong community. Those residence halls have become a really great opportunity to meet people, but also know it's okay to set boundaries. And again, know when you need time for yourself. It's those small acts of courtesy that I find that make really strong residential communities. It's the cleaning up after yourself, keeping noise down. It goes a long way when thinking about the use of those shared spaces. Um, the things that are Michigan specific, or at least specific here again to the support we give to first year students, is the staff that we have available. So all students have a resident advisor that's a fellow student, help you to get to know others in the community, lead activities, encouraging the growth of a healthy community. All of our communities also have diversity peer educators, help to assist in the development of a community that is inclusive for students of all identities. And then all of our communities also have hall directors, full-time staff like myself in Michigan Housing that offer support and leadership of our residential communities. So again, a lot of folks here to support students in their journey here in college and in our residential communities. Then finally, there's opportunities to get involved. So it's not just the other folks here to support, it's the students themselves, students that make up this community. So all of our residential communities have hall council, which is a part of our residence hall association, and a multicultural council. These councils are made up of students who live in those communities. Our hall councils focus on events and community building. Our multicultural councils plan community-wide programs. And these are things that are going to help to make a really welcoming environment for everybody else in the community. If it's something that sounds of interest to you, you can join one of these councils early in the fall semester. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some specialized needs. We have a couple of different ways that we support students through specialized needs. The first of which is students who might have health and disability accommodation needs. So, students that have disabilities or chronic or severe medical conditions can request accommodations. Those requests run through the Services for Students with Disabilities office, who manage the accommodation process for a wide variety of things at the university, whether housing or academic-based accommodations. So again, that's a part of an interactive process to work with them to determine a reasonable accommodation. Submitting a request for accommodation does not guarantee you'll be approved for that. I will note that, again, students approved for specific accommodations are assigned roommates in the same manner as all other students. Again, unless you're specifically approved or request, a single room and one is available. So accommodation requests do take precedence over other requests, including roommates. So again, thinking about your needs relative to what you need or relative to, again, what you may want in a roommate or a specific person you want to live with. Again, it's all based on what we have available, because we do everything we can to meet as many needs as we possibly can all at once for our first year students. Um, Similarly, we really work to support students' observances with their faith tradition while they live in on-campus housing. So again, there is consideration given to students' religious observance requests when they apply for housing. So there's a form available through the Michigan Housing website. Similar to our health and disability accommodations, submitting a request does not guarantee that students will receive a preferred room type. And again, a placement for a first year student also does not guarantee on-campus housing or specific placement beyond year one. So again, these types of religious observance requests that we meet are done a year at a time. And similarly there, we do what we can to work to, again, meet a student's need, and if we can, help meet a specific roommate need, but sometimes the individual need of the student is going to have to take precedent. Similarly here, we also do offer a wide variety of gender-inclusive housing options, ensuring that Michigan Housing is really a supportive space for residents of all gender identities. We have a couple of different things. We have students have an opportunity to look at placement in a gender-inclusive room, or can opt in and join our gender-inclusive living community. Similarly there, it's a form available through our Michigan Housing website, and similar to our religious observance requests, they don't guarantee placement after year one. And again, those can take precedent over specific roommate desires that a student may have. So I've given you all the details. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty, the important stuff. What do you need to do to apply for housing? What is the process like? So first things first, applying for housing means submitting an application for housing. You need to have a University of Michigan unique name and email address. If you do not have that, you will not be able to get into the Michigan Housing Portal to apply for housing. So that is a requirement. Once you do that, if you have not claimed that yet, usually within about 1 to 2 business days, we, Michigan Housing, will email you to invite you for housing, to invite you to apply for housing. Until you get that email, no need to worry. We'll get to you, we'll email you, and you're ready to go at that point. When you apply for housing, you're going to do some things. You're going to provide some important housing information, such as your phone number, emergency contact, a confidential missing person contact. You're going to have a chance to indicate some housing preferences, like specific campuses and room types, and I'll talk about that and where that plays in here in a second. Learn kind of what I just shared for you all earlier about how to request accommodations for health and disability, religious observance, and gender-based needs. You will then complete a set of room matching questions. I believe it's 16 or 17 questions asking you a variety of things. What time do you normally go to sleep? What time do you normally wake up? How do you like your room temperature? What are your thoughts about cleanliness? What are your thoughts about guests in the room? What are your thoughts about sharing items with your roommate? Those kinds of things that, again, can be really impactful. I will note you will have an opportunity to search for other students that you may want to live with and filter based on those answers. And Michigan Housing also uses those to assign students to room if we are the ones assigning you. Like I said, I'll talk about that when we get a little farther along. You can also, again, request to live with specific other students. And again, I'll talk about kind of what that looks like as we get farther along. The housing application is open. So again, if you have matriculated, it is open now. You should have gotten an email from Michigan Housing, both to your Michigan email address if you have one, as well as the personal email address you have on file with the university when you applied to the University of Michigan. Couple of things to note. I want to be aware. There's unfortunately some things out in this world that which we do sometimes see scams related to housing. So I want to make sure everyone here understands. All of the emails that you receive will come from housing@umich.edu about applying for housing. Always look for that email address. All of the actions you will take from applying to signing your contract will be done in the same portal. That's your Michigan Housing portal. I've actually linked it there. All housing payments, so everything you pay for room and board charges and other fees, happen via Wolverine Access. That is the university system for payments to be made. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to check out our website and our knowledge base, so housing.umich.edu. So, like I said, you do all of these things, you apply for housing. Our applications are due by Monday, May 11th. So important thing, a part of this process, Monday, May 11th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern is our deadline for students to apply for housing. Keep that in mind. Again, nothing here about housing is first come, first serve. You could have already applied, and I will say that's amazing. I really appreciate you did that. You could wait until 11:58 p.m. on Monday, May 11th. Your application will be considered all in the same way. There is no benefit to applying before others. So I encourage you to take your time. The application itself should take you at least 30 minutes to complete, even longer, if not longer, if you're going to apply to a Michigan Learning Community or a theme community. I encourage you to take your time when you're completing it. So, as a part of the housing application, Michigan Housing is going to ask you, how do you want to be assigned to a room? And you have two choices. You can, on the right side here, select your own space. You have an opportunity basically where you will get and sort through a list of rooms available and can filter by residence hall and by room type. And you say, you know, that one looks really nice. I think me and my friend, we're going to take that one. And that is an option available to you. That option may be beneficial to you if you have the desire to put in the work involved, the desire to research which residence halls and room types are available. If you're ready when it comes time to select to identify alternative options, if your desired room has already been taken, or if you might have specific strong preferences towards specific buildings and rooms. I will say historically, at least last year, the incoming first year class, it was about 50-50 in terms of about 50% really wanted to pick their own room. So again, it is an option available to students. Your other option here on the left side is Michigan Housing can assign you. This option might be beneficial if you don't have strong preferences around specific buildings and rooms. If you might feel overwhelmed by the amount of like research required to have to learn about specific communities and choose a specific room, or if you're comfortable with Michigan Housing taking your campus and community and room type preferences and assigning you to a room that meets as many of those preferences as possible. You get to decide. So when you apply for housing, you're going to tell us, I want you to assign me, or I want to pick my own space. Now, you might have some questions around this. A couple of things to note. There are some caveats to this. Even if you would like to choose your own room, there are some communities and some students in which we are going to assign you, even if you would like to choose your own space. Students, if you are accepted into a Michigan Learning Community or a theme community, or you're part of the LEAPS program at Marygrove, Michigan Housing is going to assign you. If you are approved for accommodations for health and disability needs, or again, complete our religious observance form or gender inclusive form, or if you end up getting accepted to our Henderson House or Martha Cook communities, so again, specialized communities, or if you apply late, if you apply after the May 11th deadline, Michigan Housing is going to assign you, even if you really want to pick your own space. Important thing to note here. You might ask yourself, well, which is better for me? What's going to get me better housing, more desirable housing, what I would like? I will note that is not the point. The point here is that all available first year buildings and rooms are available through both options. Choosing one option over the other does not guarantee you will receive or choose more desirable housing. We really want this decision to be a what do I want to do? Do I want my hands on the steering wheel, be in control of this vehicle, or do I want to take my hands off and say, you know what, Michigan Housing, you drive this car? So again, important to note, it's really about what you want your experience to be as you're a student and you're applying for on-campus housing and choosing space as we get into the summer. So one thing I do want to talk about is roommates. It's a really, really important thing. I know many of you may know who you may want to live with, or may know, you know what, I really want to pick someone myself. One thing I said earlier, every single student is going to answer a set of roommate matching questions, even if you already know who you want to live with. I'm going to live with one of my great friends from high school. We both got into Michigan. We're going to live together. Even if you already know who that person is, you're still going to answer our set of roommate matching questions just in case, just to be safe, what we ask them of everybody. If you already know who you want to live with, kind of follow the path on the right side here. You are going to, in essence, confirm that. Designate one person as the leader of your group. The leader of your group is going to, within the housing application, create a group name and a password. The password is meant to be is called a password for a reason, meant to be a secret. Do not share this password with anyone other than the people that you want to be roommates with. You're going to share that group name and password with your desired roommates, who are going to request to join your group by entering the name and password within the housing application. And then you, as the leader, will go through and accept them one by one until everyone is successfully in the group. And once everyone's successfully in, your group is set, and you're done, and you're all good to go. Let's say you don't know who you want to live with, or again, maybe you might, whether you're interested or not in finding someone, you have an option. You can, within the housing application, you can search for potential roommates. You can search based on those same roommate matching questions you answered. As you find them, you can send them a message to connect, and you can request to form a roommate group with them. Whoever sends the request becomes the leader of the group, and then those that are invited will accept or decline the invite. And if accepted, your group is set, you're in the group, and you're good to go. One thing I will note is you are not required to form a roommate group. There are many, hundreds, if not thousands of students every year, first year students, that do choose to not form a roommate group. They say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to find anyone. I haven't found anyone specific. Michigan Housing, can you put me in a room, or can I just go ahead and pick a space and again we'll make do? That's perfectly fine. That is so normalized for incoming students to choose to not form a roommate group, so don't feel the pressure like you have to. If you want to, it's available to you, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So one thing I know, I said the application was due on Monday, May 11th. After you submit the housing application, you can go back in and edit almost all of the information before that May 11th deadline. So let's say you filled it out pretty quickly. You say, you know what, actually, I changed my mind about something. You can go back in and edit that, except for application information about Michigan learning communities and theme communities. Those cannot be edited after submission, and that is because those programs are at least starting to look at the answers to your essay questions. So again, we don't want you to fill it out, change your mind, want to go back and edit your essay, and next thing you know, the program and the staff that are already reviewing it. So those cannot be edited after your housing application has been submitted. But everything else, as long as you get it edited by Monday, May 11th at 11:59 p.m., you're welcome to go back in and edit anything in your housing application. So you've applied, you did everything you needed to by May 11th. You've done the first part successfully. Then you say, well, what comes next? What comes next involves getting your room assignment. So if Michigan Housing assigns you, whether you wanted to or whether we to, what happens next is you receive your room assignment and you receive an offer to sign a housing contract for that space. On Wednesday, June 3rd, for students that are a part of some sort of specialized community or have a specialized assignment need, you would receive your room assignment that day. My best examples are students admitted to Michigan learning communities or theme communities, or students approved for accommodations, again, for health and disability, or religious observance, or gender inclusive reasons, you would receive your room assignment and your housing contract on Wednesday, June 3rd. Once you sign that, you'd be good to go. If you were to be assigned by Michigan Housing, because let's say you wanted to, and that was your desire, on Monday, June 29th, you would receive your room assignment. You would get that from us with an offer to sign your housing contract. Now, let's say you're on the right side. You went down the path of choosing your own space. What your experience is going to be is that on Thursday, June 11th, Michigan Housing is going to send you your room selection date and time. What that basically means is that's the first day and minute that you are allowed to go into your housing portal and search and select your space. Those dates and times are randomly assigned, truly random, with the exception that all members of a roommate group receive the same start time. So my friend and I are in a roommate group. We're both going to get the same room selection date and time so that we can go in together. Cool part about the housing portal is that either one of us could pick a room on behalf of the whole group. So let's say my friend isn't available, but I am. I can actually pick the room for both of us. And then what's going to happen is actually between June 22nd and 25th will be the days for room selection. So on or after your assigned room selection date and time, you can go into your portal. Our room selection start times kind of start about every 15 to 20 minutes on a rolling basis during the daytime, Eastern time, Eastern daylight hours. So just be aware of that based on time zone. Historically, it's been somewhere in the realm between like 10 and 3 to 3:30 or so each day, Eastern time. For again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Like I said, you get your selection start time, and that's your time to go into the housing portal to go in and select space from what is available. And then finally, unless you were a student that got one of those housing assignments on June 3rd as a part of one of those specialized communities or specialized needs, all of the students, whether you're assigned by us or you picked your own room, on Monday, June 29th, they're going to get that housing assignment and contract. So even if you picked your own space, we're going to send you your housing contract for that space on June 29th, and you're going to have a week to sign that housing contract for the space you've been assigned or selected yourself. That is the last step. Once that is confirmed, you are all ready to go. We are ready for you to join the Michigan housing community come the fall. All right, my last really important thing to note here is the University of Michigan's vaccination requirement. And I bring this up today because I don't want this to be a barrier for any student to sign their housing contract. All University of Michigan students that are residing in Michigan housing on the Ann Arbor and Marygrove campuses are required to submit vaccination records for a variety of 6 different vaccinations, are required to submit the doses that someone has received already. One thing I do want to note here is that the University of Michigan's vaccination requirement does not require you to actually be vaccinated. While we really, really, really strongly encourage it, community living has, again, there are public health considerations to this. You really should, we really strongly encourage you to be vaccinated here. Our requirement is that you provide which documentation you have. So if you are not vaccinated for any one of these 6, you can provide an attestation to the university that you are not vaccinated or your student is not vaccinated, and that suffices for our requirement. What we would like to know is, what are you vaccinated with and against already? That's what we would like to be aware of, and that is the requirement that we have in place. That vaccination information must be submitted before Michigan Housing can offer you a housing contract. You could choose your own space. You could get in one of those great communities, and we would just kind of sit there and be like, well, you have this housing assignment, but we can't offer you the housing contract yet because you haven't submitted your vaccination information. So it is really important that you do that. It is really important, students here, talk to your families, try to work to gather up some of those records that you have. I know we get some questions every year from students to say, well, I'm working with a physician, again, a clinic, to go ahead and get vaccinated against some of these. Is that going to stop me for anything? As long as you submit the vaccination information that you have and attest to any immunizations that you don't have, and again, that suffices for our requirement. You don't have to be vaccinated with all of these by the time Michigan Housing would send you a housing contract. Just let us know which vaccinations you have. It is really critical you tell us these. One thing I will note is you can submit these today. This is a portal that's independent of the housing portal. Again, you should be getting some information both from Michigan Housing and some other folks across the university to submit this. So you're going to submit this through a portal called VaxViewer. Um, you can submit this now. You can submit this while you're applying for housing. You can submit this after you apply for housing. But again, you can submit it at any time, but you can do that starting today, even if you're not quite ready to apply for on-campus housing. And then my last one, my early preview. I promised you all that I was going to give you a preview of something. This is not even online on our website yet, or at least slightly online here. But I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things here. Our early preview. Some of you may already be looking ahead to move in and the prospect of what August may look like. So move-in dates is the last full week of August because our first day of classes is Monday, August 31st, this upcoming fall. So how this works is we have a couple of things. We have some early move-in days between Saturday, August 22nd and Tuesday, August 25th. Those are available for students that are participating in specific programs that are geared towards new students, and students move in early on a specific day designated by that program in order to get settled prior to those activities beginning. One of those opportunities for early move-in is what we call the welcome team. And those are student volunteers that are here to assist their peers with move-in. Every year, hundreds of first-year students volunteer to be a part of the welcome team. An opportunity, again, you get to move in early, you get acclimated a little bit early, have an opportunity to meet peers and friends, help out, again, with some of your peers that might be moving in later in the week. So it's, again, an opportunity available to students. Students will be able to sign up for that when they pick their move-in date and time. And I bring that up because our first year move-in days between Wednesday, August 26th and Sunday, August 30th is what will happen is that immediately after signing that housing contract between June 29th and July 6th, or again earlier in June for students in those special communities, students will be able to choose a move-in date and time from among dates and times available. Noting that some of these dates do have more limited availability to help limit the traffic volume. There are thousands of students moving into the Ann Arbor area every year. We've got to make sure, again, traffic stays flowing to make sure everyone has a great move-in. But again, these are the move-in dates that will be available for our first-year students. So with that, I am prepared to take questions. I'm also prepared to take a look at what questions have come in since I've been talking for the past 30 plus minutes. What I'm going to do here is go through and read off some of the questions that I'm able to see. I think I should be able to get to almost all of them here in the next 18 minutes. Again, I'm committing to ending this at 8:30 because, again, Michigan's about to go stop UConn here in a little bit, and I'd like to go watch it once tip-off happens. But I'm going to go through to clarify some of these. And I'll start with some of those that were submitted about 20 or so minutes ago. Someone asked, does honors housing live on one floor altogether? Honors live on multiple floors of South Quad. South Quad is the building where honors housing lives. But again, honor students can live anywhere on campus. Someone asked, can a first year student live in a residence hall that is mostly reserved for a community without being in that community? Yeah. So when I said there are, I mentioned earlier, there are 17 residential communities for first year students. Yeah, first year students, whether they're in a special community or whether they are not, live in all 17 of those. So again, those communities make up a small percentage of our overall residential population. Someone asked, someone said, I came in a little late. Sorry, I joined. Someone asked, can your roommate be in a different college? Yeah, so there's no requirements that roommates be in the same college or school or major. You can live with anyone as long as they're another first year student. Someone asked, when do health and religious accommodations get approved? And if requested a single room accommodation and it doesn't get approved, you would assign a time to search for roommates. Yes, there would be time. Typically, those accommodations are coming in before or around the end of the the housing application deadline. That being said, I encourage students to submit those requests early on. Again, as early as possible. That allows services for students with disabilities to review them as early as possible. Someone asked, if you apply for a single in your first year, what are the chances you will actually get it? It depends. It just depends on, on that. Like I showed you all earlier, our single are a small percentage. So again, I encourage students to think about the prospect of living with a roommate. Typically singles are pretty popular among first year students, but again, there's only so many available. So again, I can't say exactly what the chances are, but like I noted, they're definitely a small percentage of our overall requests. Someone asked, are religious observance requests due prior to the housing application, or is there part of it? It's not directly inside of the housing application, but it's linked, so you'll be able to find it as you go through the process. Those are due by the time the housing application closes. So you really got to get those in by May 11th there. there. Someone asked around, let's see. Oh, someone asked a earlier question. Where's Wolverine Village and related to campus? I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to show you all some Wolverine Village stuff. I thought that'd be kind of cool. I didn't highlight that earlier, and I definitely should have. Apologies, I'm skipping right through these. Okay. Here on the right side shows you a bit where Wolverine Village is at, if you can kind of see my mouse. So it's kind of in our southwest corner of our central campus. It's definitely within walking distance to a number of things. So again, something to think about, do some research, again, of kind of, again, where it's at. But it, again, is located in kind of the southwest corner of campus. It's a really great question there. All right. Someone asked, where do we go in the housing portal to find the housing application? That's a great question. You will see it will say undergraduate housing 2026, 2027. That's where you go. If you see undergraduate housing, you click that link and you'll follow the process to go through options there. All right. Oh, let me see. What other great questions that we have? There's so many here. These are really awesome. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Someone asked, does choosing a room mean choosing the exact room you live in, like choosing a seat on a plane? That's it. That is exactly how it works. It's kind of like choosing your seat on a plane. You choose from what's available. You're picking the exact room that you live in, if you live on campus. Someone asked, like, what does it look like? Like, what do you see? Is it a list? There are, in essence, kind of 2 to 3D visuals, like renderings of the room, so you can get a little bit of a sense of a layout there. You'll also have an opportunity to see which exact rooms are available ahead of time. Again, putting some things out there so you can also prepare accordingly, to make sure you have a plan, a first plan, or a backup plan there overall. Someone asked, does the new housing complex have kosher dining options? Actually, our closest kosher dining kitchen is within walking distance. It's at South Quad. So it's, again, about a 5-minute walk or so from Wolverine Village. Someone asks, does the cost of things vary within rooms, even if things are the same? There is a little bit of variation of costs. I will say, like a typical double, like if you lived in a double with a community bathroom, that's going to be the same no matter which building you live in. But some rooms can be a little more expensive or less expensive, depending on, again, is there a bathroom in room, or is it a really, really large room? So there are, again, some considerations there overall. Someone asks, do I have to apply to a Michigan Learning Community Think Community when I apply for housing? Nope, that is not a requirement. You do not have to apply for one of those programs if you don't want to. So again, it is an option available to students, but you do not have to. And I will say, historically, the majority of first year students don't apply to one of those programs. But if you might be interested, I encourage you to apply to them anyways. It could be a really good opportunity. And someone had a related question right after, what happens if you are not accepted into one of these 2 selected MLCs? And that does happen sometimes. What'll happen is Michigan Housing, again, based on either will assign you to a space, if that's what you put down in your application, or you can go through and pick your own room if that's what you want. So again, you have kind of fallback options if you are not admitted into one of those programs. Um, Someone asks, for preformed roommate groups, do all roommates need to go in and select a room at the same time? So I think I mentioned earlier, if you are part of a roommate group, only one person in the group has to pick the room on behalf of the whole room. Everybody doesn't have to go in at the same time and like coordinate to pick the same room. Me, if I'm picking a room on behalf of my roommate group, I can pick the room for all of us, basically, is how it works. Someone asked, when if we're picking our own room, do room tiers like premium or economy pre-populate? Yes. Yeah, you can search and filter based on building, room size, room type. If it's a standard room or an enhanced room, you can filter based on those to get to the list that you want. And then somebody kind of early question, like, what's the difference between an economy and a standard room? That would, I would say, would be kind of square footage. An economy room might be a little bit smaller in square footage versus a standard room might be, again, a little bit larger. Same thing, an enhanced room might be a little bit bigger or might have, again, a bathroom in the suite. And a premium room, similarly, might have a bathroom in it, is usually the rough kind of framework that I usually like to share with folks. Um, Someone asked a great question. If I got confirmation for early move-in, but my roommate didn't, how does that work? Yeah, move in for all students is individualized. So there's no requirement that you have to move in with a roommate or move it at a different time. If you move in at the same time, great. If you move in on different days, that's fine too. But everything for move-in dates is individualized to the student. Um, I will note, like, moving in at the exact same time can sometimes be challenging. I will note that it's not my best recommendation for students. And again, I encourage you maybe to pick slightly off hours or a little bit off each other. A little bit can make the moving experience a little bit easier in your room. Someone asked you your question of how do you join the welcome team? Yeah, you join the welcome team. When you pick your move-in date and time, whether you're doing an early move-in or just general first-year move-in, you'll see the option to select and choose a volunteer to be a part of the welcome team. Someone asked, do international students have any differences in any of these processes? Nope, nothing different for international students as for students that are domestic here in the United States. It's all the same. Oh, someone asked a question. What size are mattresses? Regular twin or twin XL? I should have put that in the slides. Twin XL. We do twin XL beds here at the University of Michigan. Um, let's see. Someone asked, what are the different meal plans that can be purchased? So again, all of our residential meal plans are versions or variations of our unlimited plan. So all three are going to provide unlimited meal plan swipes to students. And then the difference is the amount of dining dollars you want to put on, whether it's an additional $200 or an additional $300 or just sticking with the basic. I'm going to skip ahead to our question slide just before I go in here. All right. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, so someone asked a great question. I presume this might be someone in honors. Can you room with someone who didn't get into honors? Yes, yeah. Like I said, as for any students that are in honors, you are not required to live in honors housing, which is a housing specific community for honor students that opt into that. If you choose not to opt into that, you can live with anybody, whether they're an honor student or not. But again, if you choose to live in the honors housing living learning community, you have to live with other honor students who opted into that program. Um, Someone asked a question for the 1 week when you're supposed to sign your housing contract. What happens if you're outside of the country at that time? That's a really great question. By the time you we get into June, I really, really encourage you to email us. What I will actually do here, and this is my recommendation if also I don't get a chance to answer your question tonight, please, please, please email housing@umich.edu. We will happily answer your question. And for the student here, if you are outside of the country when housing contract signing is in place, email us and we'll work with you individually to make sure we can get your housing contract signed with your consent so you follow through here if you know you're not going to be available to sign it in that regard. Someone asked your question, what residence hall does WISE RP, Michigan Learning Community live in? They live that WISE RP is in Mosher Jordan Hall. Someone asked your question for Wolverine Village, will students be able to pick their preferences for the building that are like building 1 or 2 that might be connected to the dining hall? Yes. So I talked about Wolverine Village as 5 individual buildings. You might see it referred to as like all 5 together. Each of the 5 residence halls is its own building. We treat them like all the other buildings. So again, you can kind of rank and choose from among them accordingly. All right. Let's see. There are other great questions. Someone asked if I get a religious accommodation and a roommate does not, is that an issue? Not necessarily. We do work to try to meet both roommate needs and religious accommodation needs as much as we possibly can. Like I noted earlier, your specific religious observance need will take precedent over, again, any specific roommates, but we do what we can to meet both if we can, which sometimes means, again, might be assigning to a different building or a location that, again, meets your need and is with your roommate. So we do what we can to possibly do that. Mhm. All right, let's see what else we have. Someone asked, is there a dining hall in Wolverine Village? There is. One of our residence halls there, building 1, has a dining hall in it within Wolverine Village. Someone asked your question. If we are coming from out of state, how do we get large items to our residence halls? Can we ship? Yes, great question. The University of Michigan has 2 preferred storage and shipping providers that you are welcome to work with. You'll eventually get some information from us when we start sending some information about move-in. I'll share now the 2 companies. One is called John's Pack and Ship. The other one is called U Storage. Both have opportunities where you can ship things ahead of time, and we will help facilitate those items actually being put in your room prior to move-in. So you will walk into your room for the first time, and your things will already be there if you ship them ahead of time. A couple of questions folks have asked about recordings. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to the housing website in the first year housing application page. Someone asked, can you find your own roommate in the portal but still have Michigan Housing assign you to a room? Absolutely. Yeah, many students every year will find a roommate and form a roommate group with someone that they find in the portal, and then also have Michigan Housing assign you. That's a great way to get into a room together. So that is absolutely possible. Mhm. I've had a couple questions so far, again, continuing to ask about like kind of differences in rates, like I said, between enhanced, economy, and standard. And like I said earlier, those are mostly based off of square footage of rooms. So again, economy rooms are a little bit smaller, so a little bit more cost effective. Standard rooms, again, pretty standard. Enhanced rooms are a little bit larger in square footage or might have a bathroom shared with, between rooms or in a suite. Similarly, premium rooms might have bathrooms in them. So again, it's a variety of what kind of amenities are inside of the room and how large the room is, maybe relative to many others of the same side. All right. Someone asked a great question. If you have received the Go Blue guarantee, are there only specific residence halls you are allowed to live in? Nope. So again, all of the residence halls are open to any student, no matter what kind of aid you may get here at the university. Someone asked a question, will rooms at Wolverine Village be more expensive because they're new, or are they priced as the same as other doubles? They are priced exactly the same. So a double at Wolverine Village, standard double is the same as a standard double at all of our other residence halls. So that's a great question. If you get accepted into a Michigan learning community, is that binding? No, it is not. You don't have to again accept the spot into a Michigan learning community. You are welcome to turn it down. But again, you do have that option. It is not required if you are accepted into it. Someone asked, do you need to have a roommate to select your own room? Nope. You can select a room by yourself. You'll see from pretty much every room available to you there. So again, you'll see singles and doubles and triples and quads, and you'll pick just one space in those rooms from what's available. All right. Someone asked, are we able to access the room filtering algorithm that I mentioned prior to your designated selection time? Yes, we were working on that to be able to actually go and see which rooms are available. You can kind of see what it looks like to filter through. That's what we're aiming for, to make that available prior to selection date and time. All right. Let's see other questions. Someone asked, can you bring your own mattress? You're welcome to bring your own mattress. I will say university provided furniture does have to stay in the room, so you're not permitted to remove items from the room. That being said, if you find room for the university provided mattress in the room, you're welcome to bring your own if you'd really like to. Someone asked, do you have to leave housing for breaks? That's actually a really great question. So I hear the University of Michigan. Um, both fall break, Thanksgiving break, and during the fall term, and then spring break during our winter term, our residence halls stay open. We do not close our residence halls. The only time during the academic year the residence halls close is for term break between fall and winter. So from late January through late December through early January, our residence halls close. That being said, we do offer options for students that do have a need to stay and are not able to stay anywhere else if you do need to stay on campus. All right. So if you've already been accepted into something for early move-in, when do you get to choose which of those days? What happens is once you sign your housing contract, if we have information from the program that you're doing this early move-in through already by that point, you'll be able to go in and pick a move-in date or date and time, more likely a time, based on the specific date designated by the program for early move-in. So your experience will be the same as other students. You'll just be able to pick the date that you've already been approved for. to move in. Someone asked if we get picked, if we get picked last to select our own room, will there still be options available for all campuses? Yes. I will say, no matter what your process is, whether you're being assigned by us or whether you're going through room selection, all students will see some sort of option available on all campuses. So as long as you applied by May 11th and go through the process, particularly for room selection, you will see options available on both North and Central campuses, no matter when your selection date and time is. Okay. Someone asked, does housing come with a bed, mattress, table, and chair? Great question. I'm actually going to make this my last question, so we end this at 8:30 today. Yes, university provided furniture involves a bed, a dresser, a desk, and again, all of this we have different kind of furniture packages of sorts. Your actually beds can be lofted, put at a half loft height. Can do a variety of different configurations to create as much floor space as you possibly can. You all have had a number of wonderful questions. I cannot answer all of them tonight. I really wish I could. If you're still not sure or still want to have them answered, again, I highly encourage you to reach out to us via email at housing@umich.edu. I'll put it in the chat again. We would be more than happy to answer your questions as soon as we possibly can. So I really encourage you to reach out to us. Like I said, this recording will be posted to our website hopefully in the next couple of days. So I encourage you to come back. If you wanted to take a screenshot of something or wanted to see one of the slides again, it'll be posted here in a couple of days for you to go back and view at your own leisure. But otherwise, I really appreciate all of your time tonight. Thank you so much for coming out, and look forward to having all of you, or as many of you as we want to possibly, come live in at the University of Michigan housing community starting this upcoming fall. But thank you. Have a great night, and go blue.